pharyngeal wall is composed of 5 layers. Now, if we see from deep to superficial, these layers are the mucosal layer, the submucosal layer, the pharyngobasilar fascia, the muscular layer, and the buccopharyngeal fascia. Now, first of all, let's look at the mucosal layer. This mucosal layer is lining the entire pharyngeal cavity and it is continuous with the mucous membrane of all the adjacent structure which is continuous with the pharynx, which are the eustachian tube, the nasal cavities, the moral cavity, the larynx, the esophagus. Now, it is very fascinating here to know that the pharynx is not lined by a single epithelium. It has different epithelium in different locations. Mostly, the mucosa of the nasopharynx is the ciliated pseudostratified columnar epithelium, which is the respiratory epithelium as in continuation from the nasal cavity. Whereas the rest of the pharynx is lined by a non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. This change in epithelium is occurring at the transitional zone, which is located at the lower end of the pharynx. Coming to the next layer is the submucosal layer. It is the layer which lies beneath the mucosa and also known as the lamina propria. It is made up of connective tissue containing elastic tissue. It contains aggregates of gut associated lymphoid tissue that forms the Walde's ring. Now, this Walde's ring is a very important structure. It is an aggregate of lymphoid tissue which is located in the entrance of the aerodigestive tract, which is helping in the local immunity of the individual. I'll be talking about the Walde's ring and its structure in a separate video. Now, this submucosal layer is a very thick layer and it blends with the next layer, which is known as the pharyngobasilar fascia. The pharyngobasilar fascia is also known as a pharyngeal aponeurosis. This layer is adherent to the skull base in the region of the occipital bone and the petrous temporal bone. Now, this layer has an actual importance over here. Now, in this figure, we see that this first layer that you can see is the mucosal layer. The second layer that you're here seeing, the line by yellow, is the one which we are saying is the pharyngobasilar fascia. Now, this layer, it begins at the base of the skull. Why is this layer important? We'll see is that the next layer, which is the muscular layer, the muscular layer is not continuous throughout the length of the pharynx. It is deficient at the upper limit of the pharynx, which is near the base of the skull. Thus, what is happening here is the fact that pharyngobasilar fascia has to be very thick over here in this particular region so as to maintain the integrity of the pharynx because this muscular layer is not able to reach the skull base. This is the importance of the pharyngobasilar fascia. Next, when we come down to the third layer, which is the muscular layer. Now, as in most structures of the digestive tract, we have seen that muscular layer consists of 2 layers of muscles. The first is the external layer of muscle, which has the superior, the middle, and the inferior constrictor muscles. They interlock like 3 cones, with each layer overlapping the next layer. Now, the second layer is the internal layer, which consists of the stylopharynges, the salpingopharynges, and the palatopharynges. I'll be talking much in depth about the muscles of pharynx in another video. Coming to the last layer of pharynx, this is known as the buccopharyngeal fascia, which is basically nothing but loose areolar sheath. This layer, the blue layer, is the one which is the buccopharyngeal fascia. This layer is a very thin areolar layer covering the pharyngeal constrictors and is continuous anteriorly with the covering of the buccinator muscle. Now, why is this layer important? It contains the pharyngeal plexus of veins and nerves. Thus, if we summarize now, the different layers of the pharynx is first the mucosal layer, which is different in different locations. The nasopharynx is lined by the ciliated pseudostratified columnar epithelium, whereas the rest of the pharynx, namely the oropharynx and the laryngopharynx, is lined by non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. Next is the submucosal layer, which contains a very important structure known as the Walde's ring, which is an aggregate of lymphoid tissue. The next layer is the pharyngobasilar fascia. I already told you about the importance of it. The fourth layer is the muscular layer, and the last one is the buccopharyngeal fascia containing the pharyngeal plexus of veins and nerves.